So want to say good afternoon to everyone. It's a little after 1:15, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Dr. Joel Moody. I'm the Chief Prevention Officer for the Province of Ontario, as well as Assistant Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Labor, Immigration, Training, and Skills Development. You say that enough times, and you will win the door prize. But I want to, really want to welcome you today, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. That's entitled "Utilizing Technology to Advance Worker Safety." And with me, I have three esteemed colleagues that are here. So first, I'd like to introduce Steve Chaplin, who is Senior Vice President, Health, Safety, and Environment at EllisDon. To my left, Amer Dalain, Global Security Strategy Leader at Microsoft. And to my right, Erin, who's the Vice President, Health, Safety, and Sustainability with Modern Niagara. So what we want to do during our time together is really just talk about, how will we explore the technologies that are being developed, that are being leveraged, really to enhance workplace safety. What are the measures? How are we minimizing hazards, improving overall worker health and safety and well-being, but acknowledging that there are some limitations. And so I want to be able to find some opportunities to have the dialogue with you today about what those opportunities and what is the art of the possible as we look both now as well as forward facing in the future. So we'll have some time at the end for some questions and answers, and do really appreciate the engagement. But as we start off, kick off the first question. And so to Steve and Erin, really want to kind of understand what are some of the technologies that you are using or your company are using today. Steve?
It's not ladies first?
Nope, not today. Off you go.
Darn. Well, I was going to say good morning all, but that'd be wrong. Good afternoon. Like Joel said, we just want to have a conversation with you and take you through this journey. I would say, when we look at our journey on digital and technology, our company does a really good job in terms of where we're moving in the tech space. But I think similar to a lot of companies on the health and safety space, we haven't advanced as much in the digitization and the digital processes that we'd want to. So we've standardized a lot of digitization processes, EHS software, things like that. But we haven't gotten into the predictive analysis and AI yet. But we see that on the horizon.
Erin?
Thanks, Steve. Thanks. For us, it's similar journey as EllisDon. I'm with Modern Niagara. We are very much into the space of collecting the data and making sure that it helps to create a framework for more technology in the near future. What I would say at Modern is what we are doing is trying to inject safety into our design phase and our design AI earlier, so that not only does safety become a practice within the construction practice itself, it is embedded in the organics of the design phase, so that even as we build, the safety is inherently designed into it, so we can try and get our staff and those around us into a safer space. So yes, we do have safety technologies and safety AI ideas and burgeoning strategies, but we have taken the step to inject that at the engineered controls level, if you will, and start to talk about safety in the space of the design.
I know when we talk about technologies, there could be a lot of misconceptions that are existing. And Amer, can you talk to us a little bit about what some of those, at least from your standpoint as a software provider?
So, good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be here. Thank you, panel, for having me here. So the question about misconceptions, we have a lot of things, but one thing I want to point out today is really the issue of privacy and the issue of Big Brother watching you. And this is not specific to construction. This is not specific to Microsoft. This is a general conflict between technology advancements and privacy. We believe we have privacy, but a lot of our information is out there. Your phone is tracking your location, everything you say, everything you text, is being recorded. A lot of us wear watches that track our information, and that's being shared, and we consent to that. So there is today a lot of research into the fact that our concerns about privacy and our interest in technology advancements are at conflict. There's a conflict today. Are we willing to give up our privacy for the sake of technology advancement, especially in areas of healthcare, health tracking, DNA, and all these things? So people believe they have privacy, and a lot of people still fight. Other people believe, we give up our privacy once we bought into this smartphones and the things. So this is a big discussion, but I believe people need to be aware of the price you pay when you give up your privacy and also the return you get as you allow more technologies to be advanced.
Yeah, well, Steve, Erin, Amer, thank you so much for some opening thoughts.
Yeah.
I think you have a video,
Oh, I do, yeah.
Amer, that you'd like to kind of show us a little bit about some of the technologies.
Do that really quick.
As our world becomes increasingly digitized, so does our ability to connect with it. Imagine if you could search your surroundings the same way you search the web. Using existing cameras and advances in AI, we can now find things and people in the real world in real time and take action to improve safety and well-being. When a dangerous spill occurs in a chemical plant, cameras recognize the incident. Information about the spill is instantly shared with the people who need it the most, enabling them to protect other employees from coming in contact with the hazard and clean it up. This technology can also help keep people safer in hospitals. Patients recovering from heart surgery are limited to how much they should exert themselves. When someone exceeds the prescribed level of activity, a nurse is alerted. What's more, the location of the closest wheelchair is identified, so that the nurse can quickly get the patient seated and safe. This technology is also useful in an environment like a construction site, where people who need specialized tools are spread out, sometimes across multiple floors. Using cameras already in place, this technology can identify a specific tool, as well as the closest authorized person who can deliver it, saving everyone time and keeping the workflow moving. The digital and physical worlds are coming together to help make everyone more safe, secure, and productive. And we're bringing the edge of Microsoft's cloud to any device.
That was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, so listening to both Steve and Erin talk about some things that they do within their workplaces, we saw some video of things. Can you tell us what those things are?
So in this video, we highlighted a couple of, actually several technologies that are available today. What's interesting is that everything you saw here and this video was published 7 years ago. So this is not new. This is not cutting edge. But you look at that, you saw cameras being able to detect not only human figures, but also understand their fatigue. They identify the person, who that person is, that a patient, that's a nurse, identify physical objects in the surrounding, that a hot saw, that's a ladder, that's something else, understand the geospatial configuration of that. All that technology is 7 years old. And I don't know how much of that technology is being used today in construction. But again, this is nothing new. This is 7 years old.
So I was going to say the actors looked a little clothing and equipment wise. So 7. So you're saying this is nothing new.
Yep.
So what's causing the challenge? Like, why aren't more people using this technology?
Actually, a lot of people are using this when you look at other industries, for example, in retail. Retail is very advanced in adopting new technologies. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of time when you walk into a retail store, there are cameras there that are not purely for security footage, but also they can identify who that person is. Have they been here before? What do they usually buy? Maybe we can offer them some special discount today. All that is being captured. So healthcare is also very advanced in use of advanced technologies. Construction is not leading in that area, actually, in terms of technology adoption.
if I can, go to Erin,
Yeah, for sure.
construction not adopting as much. Is
And
there a story?
we can say construction is less adoptive about lots of conversations, whether it's diversity or mental health, but AI is definitely, and technology is definitely one of those things. It's really essential that we start looking at being more out of the box in our thinking style. The barrier, as I see it right now, is actually human adoption, is the human behavior, sorry, and that's the threshold. So we've got to start looking at what human behaviors will allow adoptability, and it's usually communication, it's adoption, it's integration. And even in the example of the mental health space, we use technology to underpin the program, but it's the human behavior that will accelerate the usage of it. We use the science, we use the research, we make sure we've developed the program, but it's the human behavior that will ultimately decide the rate of adoption or decline of adoption. And we can take that model and apply it to the canary in the coal mine with a drone or any other type of strategy. Underpin it with the right technology, the right research, but you really do need the human adoption for it to be effective. And that's conversation.
Steve, is there another piece you want to add, or?
Oh, sure. I could do that. Well, listen, I'm going to step it back to step it forward because that's what I do. Like when you look at technology out there, there's technology out there that can save lives. There's technology out there that can prevent serious injuries. But I think as an industry, if I speak specifically to the construction industry, we suffer from complacency and acceptance work culture. And so if you look at simple things like a backup beeper, a new worker to a site, you hear that backup beeper. After a few days, a week, they don't hear that beeper anymore. It just becomes a noise. But there's technology that Amer spoke to, like advanced AI, 360 cameras. They've been used for a long time that can actually create fields where it can disengage the equipment, or it can alert the operator that somebody's there if they're in this proximity zone, but we're not using it. So why don't we use it? And I think when I look at that, it's a couple things. It's the courage to try something different. It's the awareness of what technology is actually out there in the market. General industry acceptance. There's cost to it. So if I do that at my company, can I get all of my subcontractors to do that? And so I think there's a big risk in terms of that adoption, also with the workers in terms of, and Amer spoke to it about Big Brother watching. Are you tracking me for production? Are you going to use that against me? What information are you collecting? I remember in COVID, we were using QR codes for health screening, and a lot of the workers are like, what are you tracking me for? And so we can't get over that. So I think a lot of bigger hurdle is the privacy piece that he spoke to. And another big hurdle, I think, is cost. And probably the last one for me is, why would I want to invest in something? We don't have incidents in our company, or we haven't had a lot in our company. So why am I going to invest that? And so it's a bit short-sighted, because when you look at the technologies out there, it's not even our own workers. You look at the public interfaces out there in the communities where we have backing up equipment and that. And so how do you implement this technology that not only keeps your own workers safe, but the people in our communities? So I would say it's that.
Erin, if I could come back to you just for one, and actually it connects with what you kind of mentioned, Steve, around, technology and work sites. And Erin, you mentioned this digital canary in the coal mine. Is that replacing workers? Like, what does that really mean?
No, and we're looking at it for our service technicians. They work alone. They're in very dangerous environments. They might be on a sloped roof in the dark, fixing an air handler or a heating unit. And we're working at seeing if drones can be their canary in the coal mine. They can go up and assess at the risk first. Is there a refrigerant leak, or an ammonia leak that's life threatening? Can we send something in advance to be that canary in the coal mine for them, so they don't put themselves at risk in advance of the work they do?
So almost, once again, hierarchy of controls.
Absolutely. It's not taking away the technician's job. It's actually adding to the tools to create a more safe, well-planned environment.
Wow. Thank you. Learning a lot today. This is helpful for me. One of the things that's always kind of interesting is through your lenses, because you are doing this every day, through technology, through the workplaces. Are there practices that you're finding that are working? Anything that you can share with the group for now?
Well, for us, we've changed the model of how we practice safety inside Modern Niagara. We've partnered with research institutions. We've partnered with other partners, and we've actually started a research excellence specialist inside our safety team, and they liaise with the institutions like the Centers for Disease Control and NIOSH and the Institute for Work and Health. Harvest some of the best information, harvest some of the stuff that comes out of our best suppliers, liaise with our partners and say, this is what we think is a problem, this is what we think might be a solution, and go out. We can't do it alone. We do feel that if we try and do it alone, the cost is prohibitive, the resistance is prohibitive, but we can start to create this tripartite development strategy. So we're actually presenting that as a poster at the World Congress in Australia, that tripartite approach to excellence, research, and safety with the Centers for Disease Control, the CPWR of the States, this August, at the end of August. And that is something that I feel takes safety and turns it on its head. It says, we're looking at this differently. We have to look at this differently because we're building differently.
Okay. And Steve, from your lens, working with your company, you had mentioned AI and being able to look at the workplace. Any other practices from your lens
that we're implementing, or yeah, we're working on it. Let me add to that. I would say there's a lot of things that we're looking at, right now. I mean, I think AI is one of the solutions to adoption, especially at the worker level, but there's still a human component. Like the industry still have to say that they want to do that. And there's a few things that we're starting off slow. We're starting off the basics, but basically it's the digitization of our processes is really where we're at. But there's a few softwares that we're looking at, like predictive analysis is where we want to get into. AI generated pre-job safety assessments. We looked at a company where you can walk through the work site and take a video, and then that video will then come by and say, here's all the hazards and risks around your job site. It will generate it from AI into a form that then you can digitally review with your workers. There's a good and bad with it. Like all technology is, if you have a big complicated site, there's too much. But if it's a smaller site with a few activities, it would do a really good job. So I think that's an area that AI will grow. So we've been looking at that. Another area that we've implemented is it's more about who's on your site, and especially on construction sites, that's really difficult if you take a look at all the entrances. So we're looking at gates, geofencing. We have in Vancouver, we have some projects where there's a digital access key, and so we can know who's on site, but what trade. We have hoist software that we've implemented now where, it's not just safety, but you can look at the efficiency of a hoist in a building, but you can also tell how many workers are on what floor. So in the case of emergency, that you can roughly get volumes of people on the floor. So doing that.
All right. Well, thanks, Steve. So Amer, we're hearing wish lists and things that are coming in. Is there any top secret Microsoft things you can share with us? Emerging or not? I don't want to put them on.
Great question.
Or just some emerging technologies.
Yeah, I can share some things that aren't really specific to Microsoft. There's a general trend of technology, and actually I built some visuals here to help me list them. So we all heard about ChatGPT and the massive innovations in the area of general artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, we have been hearing this for many years, but all the artificial intelligence technologies that we've seen before used to be very specific. It does one thing, is intelligent in the area of playing chess, intelligent in the area of recognizing, objects. But nothing was general that actually combined multi-dimensional, multi-aspects of reality in one conversation or in one implementation of the technology. This is where we are now. We are now at the beginning of the general artificial intelligence that has multiple intelligences in it, able to function at the same time, able to understand text, images, context, physics, math, geography, history, basically all information from the internet is accessible to that technology, and that's what makes it unique. So now we are now at that foundational level with the general intelligence. One utilization, one use of this is an area of prediction. Because there are a lot of things that we as humans can take into account as we try to predict the future. But at the end of the day, that list of things we consider is limited. 5, 10, 15 different things that we can think of. Technology, like the models we are working on today, take hundreds of thousands, maybe hundreds of millions of parameters to come up with the predictions. So this will be a technology that will continue to evolve and will act just like how electricity started. By itself is very powerful, but it gets more powerful when you invent devices that use that power to help you in your daily life. So again, this is just the foundational technology. And now this has become available. This is available now for everybody in their own industries to build on it something that's relevant to them. Another something that I find very interesting in the area of construction is hyperlocal weather intelligence. So we all heard about, weather forecasting, sometimes accurate, sometimes not. But if I'm in a construction site in a high rise up in like 50th floor or something, I hear that, we have 40% chance of rain. That doesn't mean much. But when I see something that says within 400 meters from you, a thunderstorm is coming or something within 10 minutes, that is very specific to my location. That's information that I can act upon very quickly and with a high degree of accuracy. This is something that's available today, but it will continue to evolve. And we see that this is something that can be immediately used in construction areas, construction sites. Another thing that is general, not specific to construction, is wearables. And we see now the merger and convergence of wearable in the areas of PPEs. So now we have hard hats, we have devices that you can wear as part of your PPEs, but they are actually smart. They capture your fatigue sensor signals, they capture even air purity, the chemicals in the air, they do all that for you. And again, this becomes a question of adoption. We adopt this in our personal life. I'm looking at everybody, they're wearing fitness trackers, right? People wearing some of these, I don't know if you've seen it, rings. This is the real ring, but some rings that actually track a lot of vitals. And it doesn't interfere with your work, with your physical thing. They're right there in your finger, you put your glove on it, and they capture all of that for you. Another thing, and we've seen this, and now this is evolving as well very quickly, is the ambient intelligence technologies like cameras that are continuously monitoring and recording, predicting issues, scanning the sites, counting people, as you mentioned, counting equipments, knowing where every equipment is, where every person is, who they are, what they're doing. And they can also detect, to a certain degree, emotions so that are visible. For example, somebody is frustrated, somebody's getting angry. All these can be detected from using these scanners. And of course, we've all seen mixed reality and virtual reality. These goggles and headsets. Google had them, many other companies have them, Microsoft, we have them. And they're being used today for maybe simulations, trainings, and whatnot. We see a future for that. We're still working on the hardware. There's still room for innovations in the hardware. And autonomous systems. This is something actually I've seen a lot of upstairs. We have a lot of these small devices that can go around and do specific tasks. We saw a lot of drones and cameras, that can operate by themselves, and they can just alert when there's something that we need to pay attention to. Other than that, they are fully autonomous. And another type of this is really the robots. We've seen this a lot. Upstairs, there are a couple of filter printers. I don't know if you've seen them. This is an area that now becoming more and more feasible cost-wise. Technology is available, and we see major enhancements in the type of work and the quality of work that can be done by these robots to replace and facilitate basically co-piloting the work that a human is doing. There's this TieBot, I don't know if you've seen it, that does the tying the bars. Yeah.
The rebar.
Yep. So it does, I don't know, it saves a lot of people a lot of back pain and knee pain and whatnot. So it's those are some of the things. This is not really inclusive by any means. This is just sample technologies that we see potential huge advancements in. Long answer.
No, no. Well, thank you, because it's interesting, as you said, technology has been in existence. We've spoken about some of the barriers that exist about adoption, but yet there are all of these future trends that are coming.
Correct.
Right. And so, it's really about this opportunity when we talk about technology. There's a wide ability for it to be applicable to, not only, economic growth and development. How can we predict? So ChatGPT, AI, trees, forests, all those great things that are based upon available data today. All right, that's what I'm hearing.
Right.
So we have a lot of the information now. How do we automate certain jobs, automate certain tasks, remove the individual from a hazardous situation? Because we are talking about health and safety.
Correct.
Right? Business practice optimizations, digitizing, all right, removing some things. So these technologies have potential to transform the work, how we do it, how we engage with it. But it's also about the environment that humans still have to work in. We can never forget the human component of work. So how does that interact with labor market? How does it interact with education of workers that are now not necessarily maybe doing the same tasks, but they will now be doing things related to this technology, potential questions, and as well as positive and negative impacts. So we always want to make sure that the balance is there. So moving forward, a couple of questions that we may want to consider is how do we really create the agenda that guides these activities around employers, policymakers, practitioners in occupational health and safety, public health, organized labor to inform how do we get to this next step? How do we get to find ways that we're using the technologies in the promotion of worker health and in also the development and enabling of labor market equity? So all of those things, when we talk about the factors of work, technology can be an enabler. Want to ask the panel, just kind of in closing, just a couple of questions. If there was one thing that you wanted the group to take away before we, maybe have some Q&A, what would you kind of leave some parting words with? Maybe, Amer?
When I think about construction and its adoption of technologies, I think that it's adopting technologies, but it's behind because it doesn't feel the need for it. The business is booming. A lot of people are busy. You're making money. Projects are coming in without really changing anything. So the market is hot. So during those high times, you really have time to step back and say, this is the time to go and disrupt. But that's not going to last. So the companies that are the first to allocate energy to be prepared for the slowdown, to prepared for the next round, those are the ones that will lead.
Yep. Steve?
Not ladies first again. Like everyone said, it's not about what we're doing today. It's about where do we want to be and where do we want to grow. So we have to be curious about technology that's out there. And, I think we hear a lot about AI, and that's an area for us to really explore. We're starting to look at VR goggles for doing orientation, so you get that more virtual experience. The predictive incident technology, that's out there, but we're getting more into that. I was talking to our enterprise team, something I wasn't aware of, but one of the things as a health and safety person that you look at is can someone do that task? Are they actually trained for that? And for folks that have gray hair like me, we would go and do training and you'd show up with all your certificates. But now there's software and technology where you can interface digital identity, which I know is a concern, and telematics, where the system looks at what your training is. And if you go to operate a piece of equipment, if you don't have that training, that equipment won't engage. It won't actually allow you to operate that equipment. And I think that's some of the technology that we're looking at. So I think I'm kind of straying from his question a bit, but some advice. He says there's a lot of technology out there, and it can be really overwhelming, and it can be costly. So we would say, like, start simple. Like, look at the things that add value to your day. Like, are you still running paper processes? Can you digitize your processes and get those going? Can you start off um, with with basic HSE software? Those would be a couple of the areas that we would look at, and then move on to the bigger stuff beyond that. Like, what about AI? What about cameras? And you got to think about this. I would say, as technology is out there, it can make a difference. You have to pick the right technology that works for your company and your application. Don't go too big. And I guess lastly, I would say is we still need humans. We're not going to go to self-checkouts everywhere like you're seeing across there. We have to have the human interface. So just don't rely on technology to solve everything. People still make decisions in the moment that affect their lives forever, and they can still turn the AI off. They can still have behaviors that bypasses that. So it's how do you integrate technology with the human factors approach so that we have the best outcome. So I would say that as a ramble.
Okay. Well, once again, one becomes many. That's perfect. Thank you. Erin, if I could ask you a little bit differently, because I think we definitely touched on the human factors, the technology, but as a system.
Yeah.
That question that you always remind me, you always remind a lot of us about is how can we, be better tomorrow than we are today?
Yeah.
Like, what does that
That
mean for
better
you?
tomorrow than today.
Yeah.
When I talk to my young safety people, I always say health and safety is a stick. Really, we can use it as an olive branch. We can reach out and talk to our partners and say, "We're having this problem. You must be having some problem." We can use it as a ruler and do all the metrics and everything else, or we can use it a bit of a bat and be a police in safety. And frankly, I tend to want to use the olive branch approach. So call Steve. Hey, are you having this problem? And somewhere their team is working on a solution. We might be working on a solution. And that also helps to cut the cost risk and the risk of adoption down. But safety at the end of the day is a human issue. It's not a modern Niagara issue. It's not an EllisDon issue. It's a human issue. And if we make sure that we tackle it that way, once we start to think of it that way, what we do is we actually challenge our people to resist that resistance. Find a way around that resistance by talking, by seeking new technologies, new strategies. And that's when you really get better tomorrow than you are today. And that innovation and collaboration, those are both human actions. We need the innovation and we need the collaboration to get where we need to be tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you to my panelists.
Thank you.
Beginning, and I love the way you say it, Steve, is about a journey. And that's where we're moving.
Yeah.
Technology existed before. We know that technology is going to exist moving forward. So how might we use these tools to help?
Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much. We do have some time for question and answer. So I would ask that if you do have one, just raise your hand, say your name, who you're representing, and I'm sure the panelists will be more than happy to answer your question. So I open it to the floor.
Don't put your hand up at once.
Kyle.
So I'm Kyle from EllisDon. Do I pick somebody or just ask the general question?
General question, and then
So now that the pandemic is pretty much behind us, what are some lessons learned or not learned regarding the pandemic and some things that we could improve on in the future?
look for the panelists who would like to.
Oh, you're going to point to me. Okay.
He's EllisDon, so you have to.
I thought you primed the room. That's okay. So the pandemic both introduced a new way of thinking, collaborating. I know you called us for supplies, we called them for supplies. So that's where I felt the synergy of collaboration really started. We had to deal with a human issue. It goes back to my human comment. We also learn new ways of doing things in technology, remote work, remote digitization, not being so close one-on-one with things, and accepting an adoption of technology by force. So those are the good things. The difficult things, COVID did change schedules, did change how we adopt the construction project itself. And it is creating some burdensome challenges with costs for companies, with just the actual people just left the business. So we're seeing the human factor and the cost factor, and we'll recover from that. But we all have to collectively acknowledge it and work through it. So there are some pros and cons to COVID. I like to focus on, okay, well, what did we learn? What can we do better tomorrow? Yeah.
Next question. While you're thinking, maybe just one additional one is,
Oh.
no, this is why you have me here. But I think, when we do talk about technology, costs, both individual, human, all of those types of things, what are some things that, that have allowed each of your businesses to adopt? Like, how did you have to get in front of your CEO? Did you have to get in front of a group? How did you get that buy-in?
I would say we're such a fortunate company that we see technology as the way of the future, and that becomes part of our fabric of our organization. So I think the death of any one company and organization is the failure to grow and to advance. And so it's not just health and safety. It's looking at how do you enter this digital world to enhance and grow your business in all aspects, into the data that you collect, to how do you protect workers, to how do you strategize where you grow. And like I said, we're fortunate that we have a pretty big team that's looking at that all the time. So so that.
For us, we just won a groundbreaker award in Vancouver for how we are building the new St. Paul's Hospital. And we injected health and safety people and discussion into the design, early adoption right into the design of the hospital, both for the performance of the hospital, for the public space, but also in its construction. And I would challenge anybody to start to inject safety conversation in the estimating and in the bid spec, P3, whatever version of construction planning you are entering into. It should be even at the estimating phase and the pre-design phase.
Well, if there are no other questions, once again, panelists, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you, audience members.